Today, we are going to be talking about why you may want to make a mock-up. Welcome, I do sewing and DIY related content, and today we are talking about the importance of a mock-up. So first, I will say there is a whole blog post available about this in case you want even more information, but we're going to be talking about different types of mock-ups. As you can see, I have two different types here, why it matters, why it's helpful, and kind of really get into everything about these mock-ups and different ways they can help you. So first, let's kind of get into what even is a mock-up. So as you can see, I have two different versions here. One would be what you may call like an unwearable mock-up, and this one's much more for just fit. And then we do have a wearable mock-up here, and this one it's actually like a finished garment, but I'm just using a much cheaper fabric. So let's talk about first why you may even want to make one of these. So you may have a pattern that you've thought of. I will include a link, the video that I did when I made a wedding guest dress. And for that dress, I was using very expensive material and I didn't know how the pattern was going to fit me. And that's one of the reasons that when I started off, I made a mock-up using cheap muslin material. So this material, you can normally get it at fabric stores, you can get it online, Amazon, and it's just this very cheap cotton material that is more just for you to see how does the pattern work. So one of the great benefits of creating a mock-up is it lets you get familiarity with the pattern itself. So one of the reasons you may want to do it is if you're a little uncomfortable with a step in the pattern. So specifically when I was making the wedding guest dress and used princess seams, and I am not as familiar with making princess seams, and it also included two different zippers, two different spots for invisible zippers, which that was also something I wasn't familiar with. So you can see here, I have a mock-up for, this is actually menswear, I just don't have a menswear mannequin, and I was a little bit unfamiliar with how the back was going to work on it, as well as the sizing. And that's kind of the second point for why you may really want to make a mock-up is the sizing. So when you are creating a mock-up, it's allowing you to figure out, do the pattern pieces actually correspond to the size that it says they do? A lot of different patterns will have on the back some sort of measurement, and I'll include like a picture of that in this video for you. And it will say like that if your measurement is this in inches or centimeters, this is what size you would go with. And most of the time it's true, but sometimes different patterns can fit slightly differently, or you may be between sizes. Maybe your hips say that you should be going with a size 14, and then your waist should go with like a size 10. So what are you supposed to do? And that mock-up will allow you to start diving into that pattern without ruining your good fabric. And then the last reason to make a mock-up is to make sure you really like the pattern. There has been an example, and I will include a picture of it, to these pants that I had made. I did not make a mock-up for, and there were just a lot of reasons why these pants did not turn out well for me. One was because the sizing was off. I did not make a mock-up beforehand. The pants were way too big by the time that I actually started making them compared to what the sizing said I should be. And if I'd made a mock-up, I could have caught that earlier on. I did end up tweaking those pants, tailoring them so they fit a lot better now. And they're essentially a completely different style. They're not wide-legged anymore, but a mock-up would have allowed me to see that, and I could have not wasted all that time going through the pattern and having the issues. Now, when you're deciding which mock-up to make, you have two different options. So you could make this unwearable one. You can see I've actually only attached one sleeve. I don't have the other sleeve on here. There's actually parts that on the back, because I just didn't have enough fabric, or it's not cut correctly. I didn't hem anything. I didn't do any of the finishings. This is all just to see, does the sizing work? The big thing is that whatever you're using for your mock-up, especially if you're doing it for fit, you want the same type of fabric materials, to the idea that if I am making this shirt, I'm using this muslin woven material. My final shirt is also going to be in a woven material. And then same would go if you're making something with a knit or stretch material. You don't want to make the mock-up in a woven and then make the actual garment in stretch. You're going to have some differences. The other type of mock-up that you can have is actually a wearable mock-up. And the idea behind this is that maybe you feel a little more comfortable with the steps that are going to be going on in the pattern. Maybe you understand the fit a little bit better. So for this, it's just a skirt. There is an invisible zipper in the back. And my biggest thing for this is that I'm actually recreating the skirt using a much more expensive fabric. So I wanted to be sure, one, that it was going to fit correctly, and two, did I like how it fit? Wear this out however you would want to. Everything is finished and all the steps are done for this. And what this allowed me to do was to make any final adjustments that I want before I cut into that really expensive material. So I'll show you this just some up close. As you can see, Like, I actually did all the darts, the waistband is professionally done, there's no more threads on this. And then when you look underneath, you can see that there is that lining added as well. So everything is complete. Like, this is a full garment that can be worn. Very different from this one, right? Where I use different color threads. If you look on here, I used blue thread. Nothing is actually finished. This was much more just to see the fit and is this the size we want to go for, and does anything need to be changed? So we talked about some reasons for why you would want to make a mock-up. So I will, to make this video be incredibly honest, include a couple reasons why mock-up may not be something that you want to do, and then some ways that you can kind of get around that. So the first reason is that this is extra fabric. So extra fabric, extra items that you're using. So if you're somebody who's trying to be very sustainable, you're trying to really watch the amount that you're buying, this is more money that would have to go into a project. In addition, because this is more fabric, most likely you're gonna have to store these or figure out what to do with them. So whenever I do a mock-up similar to like this one where I'm using the muslin fabric, I do try to reuse this. So I would then use this for a smaller project, maybe a new pattern I'm creating. So for example, when I made my mock-up for my wedding guest dress, I actually started to cut that out. Some of this is from that mock-up. I also used this when I was creating the pattern for my DIY rice heating pad, which is in the shape of a heart, as you can see here. This is actually all from the original mock-up that I did for the wedding guest dress. So I just try to reuse them and figuring out different ways that I can use that material. I have also used it to stuff different things. So I have a video where I made an ottoman using fake fur material, and I stuffed it with different clothes, with different fabric scraps. So that's another way, is that you can actually just repurpose a lot of that fabric that you may have used for different mock-ups into something else. And then the last reason why you may not want to do a mock-up is just time. So if you were really on a time crunch, you may want to balance the pros and cons, and maybe a mock-up isn't for you. Most of the time, especially if it's something that you're a little uneasy about, you're a little worried, I would say that the mock-up's probably a great way to go, as it will reduce some of those worries that you may have. But everyone's different, and it really depends on what you want to do. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. There is the blog post available if you want even more information, if you want some more pictures of what these two mock-ups specifically are, and I will be sure to include a link to that below. Thanks for watching.